So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you guys are at. I'm posting this simply because I just had a conversation and I don't know where everyone else's mind is at, um, but I'm concerned. Our government is not the government that we need in Canada. I imagine the US is very much similar just because of what's going on with COVID and everything. But with our Trudeau government, there's so many inconsistencies, so many untruths coming out, so many. If you watch CPAC, there's a lot of direct question avoidance from the Liberal side of the House, and so it kind of makes me wonder what the hell's going on. Just in the news last couple of weeks, SNC Lavalin, $150 million sole source contract um, for some portable housing for COVID vaccinations. Why was it sole sourced? Every government bidding website I've ever been to, it's all open. Um, the best bidder gets to win. There's no sole source contracting going on. So I'm a little frustrated with that. Another one just in the news recently, $700 million awarded to a company sole sourced again for providing ventilators for hospitals. Most of which, from what I understand in that post, are sitting in storage, never been delivered. I think only 2% have been delivered, and just a lot of inconsistencies with the lack of open communication and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's made me think, like what's going on, what's happening, what's going to happen in our world. I mean, I'm a business coach. I help businesses get out of the chaos they're in and help them figure out what they need to do to grow their business to the next level, so they're profitable, so they have a better income for their families, they can support their communities better, and it's a win-win for their employees. It's a win-win for everyone, all around. The struggle with that is, at the same time, I'm looking at what our government's doing, or the lack of what they're doing, and I'm going, well, what's going to happen now? I don't know if it's because of my background, ex-army. I used to be in the Armored Corps years ago in the reserves, and I've often had this thought, just in case, we have to have a just in case plan. What happens if the shit hits the fan? What do we do? And so I've been a pro supporter of anti-gun laws, simply not because I think we should not have gun laws, but I think that the way our government's going against gun control is the wrong way to do it. And there's lots of different stories on it, right or left, good or bad, right or wrong. But I believe we should have the right to defend ourselves. We should have the right to defend our families. And that's just kind of where I'm at. What scares me, though, is if we end up into this place of, what happens when our government goes sideways? What happens if the Liberals get in again? What's going to happen to our country? I'm a Canadian, true and blue, true and red, I should say, because I signed that check to give my life to fight for our freedom, to fight for our rights, to fight for our Constitution. I apologize, I'm getting a little emotional about that. And for me to be in a state right now where I'm thinking about, if the Liberals get in again, where can I move to get out of this country? Because there's nothing left. The corruption, the lack of truth, just the frustration in helping build our communities, and the government just turns around and tears it all down again. Like, I don't know what to do. Maybe you guys can comment. If the Liberals get in again, I'm seriously considering moving to the Philippines or moving somewhere warmer, Texas perhaps, simply because they can't. Well, part of it, I guess, is they have the Second Amendment down there, and they have the people in Texas have the ability to defend their homes, and can fight back against a tyrannical government. I don't know what's going on in our political system, but it's seriously flawed. And so, having said that, I don't know. I want to be able to help businesses get to the next level. I want to help businesses, figure out what it is that they're not doing
Unknown
right.
caller.
Figure out what it is that they're not doing right, so that we can make things better. I mean, our economy's 97% small business, and of those small businesses, very few of them actually make more than $1 million a year. And so, if we're able to help more and more businesses get over that $1 million hurdle, think about what that would do for our community. Think about what it would do impacting our economy, our world. And our government seems to have forgot about that. Our government is doing everything they can to not help the small business. Sure, they've given some money out with the CERB and a bunch of stuff, but that's not enough. Small businesses need a hand up, not a hand out. And so one of the things that I wanted to do is be able to provide that hand out. But at the same time, I'm thinking, what happens if things don't work out? Like, what happens if stuff goes sideways? What about my kids? What about my grandkids? What kind of legacy are we leaving them if it all goes to hell in a handbasket? And what do we do to survive? So having said that, I think I'm going to start a blog. This might be the first vlog, if you will, around what to do just in case. And I'm going to be the first to tell you I'm not an expert on it, but I'm speaking from the heart. If you guys are thinking, you don't trust our government, if you are similar in thoughts to me around if the Liberals get in again, we're screwed. Maybe you need to start thinking about what to do to prepare yourselves in case the transportation industry is shut down and we don't get any food. Where do you go to get your food? Do you have a stockpile of food that you and your family could live on? And I'm not talking about going out and buying a huge amount all at once, but buy a little bit. Maybe put $100 aside every month to buy up a little bit, so that you can start putting some stuff on the shelf that can give you that sense of confidence that if something goes sideways, like this COVID pandemic, I remember back in March, toilet paper was gone like that. Well, so what? Who cares about toilet paper? Use water, right? There's different ways to get around it. But if you want to stay tuned to what I'm going to bring, I used to teach wilderness survival when I was younger, when I was in cadets. So I'm going to start bringing tips to the forefront about that. Tips about what to do in case of anything from what to do in case of disruption in civil service. Right? How do you protect your family? How do you barricade yourself in your home? What to watch out for? Things like that. So I think after the conversation I had with my good friend today, this is something that I'm drawn to do, and I don't know if it's going to be detrimental to my coaching business or not. I hope it's not, but I think it's one of those things that I just feel the urge to share, that as a concerned citizen, when our government fails to be honest and transparent in their activities, it makes me question what the hell is going on. And I don't know if you're in the same group as I am when you start to think about the WE scandal, the SNC-Lavalin scandal, all these latest contracts, all the lack of transparency from the Trudeau government around what they're doing. It just does not build trust in that they have, as people of this country. I don't think they have our best interests at heart. I think they have their best interests of the big corporations like SNC-Lavalin. I think there's people in the back rooms that are getting their pockets lined. My opinion. I don't have any evidence of that. But it makes me wonder, when you get sole source contracts at $700 million, $150 million, somebody's getting their pocket lined for that contract to be a sole source contract. It doesn't happen because of goodwill. It doesn't happen because that's the right thing to do. I mean, the right thing to do is open public tender, which is the way the government works for most every other business in Canada. So why are they sole sourcing to these big companies? So I'm going to probably start doing stuff on this vlog or this podcast. I'm probably going to build a website for this. I'm thinking it's going to be called something about prepping or shit hits the fan or something like that along those lines. If you're concerned what to do with transportation being disrupted, and food not being in the grocery stores, how do you get around that? If it's a temporary fix, do you have enough food in your house to help you survive? And how to build a garden, how to make a garden. I don't know. When I look around the community that we live in, there's very few gardens. And gardening, you look back, when I grew up, mom and dad had a garden. In fact, my mom and dad still have a garden. We go out and we help them grow their garden every year. It's great having fresh vegetables, but it's also great being able to put some of those vegetables up in storage so that we can eat them throughout the winter. I mean, we used to do that years ago, and now because of grocery stores, it's just so much more convenient. Well, yeah, sure, it takes time, it takes effort to put up that stuff, but you know what? The food's healthier. There's no one that can take it from you because it's yours, right? So there's that. And also stuff around, what to do to protect yourself. Some simple strategies for self-defense. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I've watched a lot of things on Krav Maga and different things like that. So I have been taught a little bit when I was in the Army about self-defense. So there's some real basic things you can do. So I'll share that. I'll put some links in so you can go get more information. I'll talk about tips for weapons, guns that you can use to defend yourself with. I know because of Canada and our gun laws here, the long gun registry is no longer a need, so you can still go out and buy some long guns. But if you're concerned about defending your family, a shotgun would be a good choice, simply because it's a good close defense weapon. And when you rack your shotgun, it scares the shit out of people. And so if you've got someone breaking in to your house because they're after food or whatever, you need to be able to defend your family. Because if you're counting on the police to defend you, good luck with that. I just don't see it happening. Not because the police aren't going to try and do what's right. We've got a fellow officer just living down the street, right 3 houses down from us. He's a great guy. He's a detective. He's a really good guy. But he's only one guy, and he cannot stop a whole bunch of break-ins. He's not going to be able to stop that. And so if you're not in that place where you can defend yourself, stuff can go sideways pretty quick. And what I do know about criminals and the criminal element, the criminals are opportunists. So they will take advantage of an opportunity where they see that they can take advantage of someone else. But if they know that there's no chance of coming out with the winning hand in that event, they probably won't do it because they're kind of scaredy cats that way. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's true. But if you're well barricaded, well defended, and you know how to use, and your family's trained themselves on how to look after this kind of thing, you've got a better chance of survival. And really, what is your shit hits the fan plan, really? So maybe in my next podcast we're going to talk about that. How do we go about planning? I mean, I do business plans lots, and so coming up with a plan for what do we do if things go sideways. And for those of you that are out there that are saying that, oh, well, we trust our government, they're going to do the right thing, I think you need to reevaluate that position. I think you need to do some research, do some critical thinking, and figure out what it is that the government has got planned. Because there's enough stuff out there that makes you go, we can go as far right as you want with conspiracy theories like the InfoWars, or go as far left as you want, saying, hey, the government's going to look after us. But somewhere in the middle is the truth. And we need critical thinking to find that truth out. Everything from COVID, the vaccines, to single source contracts for our government, to anti-weapons laws. All of that stuff we need to be able to critically think. And because of where our society is at right now, if we have another incident, whether it's an environmental catastrophe or another COVID type thing happening, we are going to be in a world of hurt, because I don't know if our economy can handle that. I mean, our economy is shut down so bad right now. There's a big majority of businesses that will never open again. And there's a lot of businesses that are starting up online because it's a cheap way to figure out how to grow and make your money. If you're looking to get into a business, transportation would be a good one. Distribution might be another one. But have a look at that. I'm speaking from the heart today. I know it's kind of all over the place, but it really brought forward the need for me, because this has been on my mind for a few years now, and it's just really brought my attention to it today in that conversation with my good friend, that we have to have a backup plan. He has a backup plan. I don't have one. I kind of used to think I did, but most of that was just running to the hills and living off of my skills that I know of hunting and survival and all that stuff. But that's not going to help my family. Sure, it'll help my immediate family, my wife and my son, and maybe my other kids. But it's not going to help my grandkids. It's not going to help the people that I love that are extended from that. It's not going to help our friends unless they come with us. And of course, that just creates a little bit more chaos and responsibility, for sure. More complexity in the issue. So I want to leave this with you: is what is your guys' backup plan? Like, if shit hits the fan, if transportation or if our economy shuts down completely and you don't have access to food, if we have another bound of lockdowns because of COVID, what's your plan? And tune in next time. I'm going to post this up on my live and raw business breakthroughs website, or on my vlog post on YouTube. But I think I'm going to start another channel just strictly dedicated for this, because this doesn't really belong in the business side of things, and it's not. It's got really nothing to do with business. It's got everything to do with survival in case stuff doesn't go right. I don't know what the future is going to hold, you guys. I really don't. If you guys follow the Terminator kind of series, and I was big into that years ago with the Schwarzenegger, our fate, they talk about fate. Our fate is what we make, but who knows what the future is going to bring? It depends on what you believe in. It depends on how you think it's going to go. But if you're of the mindset that, first of all, you don't trust our government, which I don't. I think there's a lot of things that they need to be able to do better. And from a lot of things that I see from our federal side of the government, they're trying to landlock our oil. There's rumors of some foreign entity buying some pipelines in here to ship oil into Canada versus us shipping it out. 10 years ago, we had the world's third largest oil reserve, and the last 5 years, it's been completely landlocked. We cannot export any oil. If we can't export it, how do we make money? And that's kind of where we're at. If we're importing oil, our economy is doomed, especially here in Alberta. And that's not a good thing. Great, we can transition to alternative energy sources. But, if you look at everything that is in your household right now today, if it's made out of plastic, it came from bitumen, right? It came from heavy oil. TVs, electronics, shaker cups, computers, salt shakers, right? Hoodies, right? This hoodie is made out of recycled. Well, I don't know if it's made out of recycled plastic bottles, but plastic bottles is all comes from oil, right? It's a byproduct of oil. And so, I'm looking around in my household, and I can just about name everything in my house that has got plastic in it of some sort, or a byproduct of oil and gas. And so if you're ready to give up all of those things, by all means, shut the gas off to your house next winter, and feel free to live on a zero fossil fuel economy. Figure out how you're going to stay warm. Last time I looked around here where I'm living, there's not a lot of trees here. We live on the prairies, not a lot of trees. So if you can't heat your home with wood, good luck with that. So anyway, I don't know what to tell you guys. Just some thoughts I had around, what are we going to do if shit hits the fan? And to be honest, I don't know what we're going to do. I have a couple of ideas in mind, so maybe next vlog or podcast or whatever I want to call this, maybe we'll talk about some plans. Maybe talk about a bug out bag. And for those of you that don't know what a bug out bag is, that's we used to use that term in the Army lots. If we had a bug out, we had to be prepared to go in like 5 minutes. So we had to have essentially a backpack packed and ready with all our essential supplies that we needed to be able to jump in our tanks or jump in our trucks or whatever and be on active duty. And so when we think about bug out bags, what exactly does that contain? And so I'll maybe bring up some stuff about talking about some bug out bags, and I'll also talk about some survival foods that you might want to start stockpiling in your house. And we're going to talk about some different sources. Not necessarily going to maybe show some brands. I might though, depending on what I find on the internet. There's some good stuff out there. There's some bad stuff out there. MREs, made ready. What do they call them? Meals ready to eat. I used to use those in the Army. We used to eat them all. It's basically boil in a foil food. If the shelf life is a year or more, might be okay. But the problem with that is if the shelf life is a year or more, what the heck is in it for preservatives that's chemically going to kill you over time? So I have more questions than I do answers. So if you're in the same boat as me, maybe tune in to our new podcast show. I'm going to come up with a name for it. Maybe you guys can help me come up with a name for it. But I have to admit, I'm in tune with a lot of Albertans that are completely frustrated with the way our government is treating our economy. There's a lot of oil workers out here that are frustrated with the lack of support in trying to get our businesses back up. I used to be in the oil patch. I ran an oil field service business for 10 years, and it was good when times were good, and when it went bad, it went really bad. When you're trying to compete for work and everybody's saying take 20% off, take another 20, take another 20, and you don't have 20 to give, it's pretty hard to survive. And all we have to do is just look back over the last 5 years at how many oil field service businesses in Alberta, in Canada, have gone under, not because of poor management, but because of lack of business. I mean, when you go from drilling 25,000 wells a year and a whole bunch of projects and money's flowing freely at $100 a barrel to less than $5 a barrel and less than 5,000 wells drilled a year. I haven't even looked lately. I don't even know how many wells have been drilled in Alberta in the last year. What the CIODC outlook looks like, but it's not good. When they're talking about fighting for our pipelines, we have Rockefeller Corporation funding protesters to blockade our pipelines. It just makes you go like, what the hell is going on in our world? Why are these things happening in Canada? Where is our government that has the balls to stand up and say, hey, no, you guys can't do that. We're putting this through. Why doesn't our government have the balls to say, hey, we're putting the Energy East pipeline through so we can stop buying Saudi Arabia oil? I don't know. I can't say that. But I do know that the political wheels that are the motivation behind that all is big corporations that have an agenda that are not from Canada. And so I get a little frustrated with that when I bleed the red of our maple leaf, and I'm not happy with where our country's at right now. And for those of you that are of the same mindset as me, join me. Those of you that aren't, then we're Canada. We're a free country. It's supposed to be a free country. You feel free to think whatever you like. But I'm right there. I'm at that point where, if the Liberals get in again, I'm thinking about, and this is hard to say, but I'm thinking about renouncing my Canadian citizenship because I am not proud to be a Canadian anymore. And that runs deep. That hurts. I would die for this country. But with the corruption that's going on down east, with the lack of transparency, lack of truth that comes out of Ottawa, the way they treat our veterans, I just can't see a future with a Liberal government. To be honest, I can't see future with any kind of leadership that we have right now, because the leadership is all being swayed easily by corporations and lobbyists. We need electoral reform so that our votes count. I don't know how many you guys voted last election. I voted the last 3 elections, and every single one of my votes didn't mean anything. Because here in Alberta, we all except for one riding, I think in the last election, was all blue, PC blue. It didn't matter, even though PC blue didn't have a majority, but they had more votes for the PCs than there was for Trudeau. We still lost, and there's a problem there. There's a problem when our votes don't count. There's a problem when our politicians are not willing to listen to us, right? The politicians, I think, have forgotten that they work for us as Canadian citizens. And, I'm not going to get into a big beef with the CRA, but I'll be honest, the CRA is the biggest running joke in our country. In my mind, they're a tax grab. The people that get hired there are put to work just so that we can say, hey, we've reduced unemployment. Here's what I think, and you guys can agree. Let's go to a flat tax so that everybody pays the same. Rich or poor, doesn't matter. If you're making X millions of dollars, you pay this. And if you're making $100,000, you pay this. If you're making $30,000, you're paying this. And that flat tax would eliminate a lot of the CRA, because we don't need accountants to figure that shit out. We just need to say, hey, I made $100,000. Here's my 10%, or here's my 15%, or eliminate all of it and just increase our GST and say, hey, we're not paying income tax anymore, but we're paying a GST tax, 20%, 15%. I don't know what that would be, but I to be honest, it would make our government a whole lot more responsible, because they would have a much smaller budget to work on, so they'd have to get their shit done. And so, I don't know, just my thoughts. And I know this is politically charged. One of the things that we talk about in the world of business is we don't talk religion or politics. But I'm a firm believer that sometimes we have to have those hard conversations and throw that snake on the table, like a good friend of mine talks about. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't put it on the table and talk about it, what our political views are, what we think should happen with our government, how we should vote, who we should vote for, how we should reform our electoral system, how we should reform some of the laws in our country. If we don't have those conversations at the dinner table, how are we going to vote for better people, right? I mean, the people we have in power right now are what we raised, right? So my question to you guys, as mums and dads, as parents, your kids, our kids, my kids, are going to be tomorrow's leaders. Are you raising them to be a good leader? And if you're not, ask yourself why. Why aren't you raising them to be a better leader? Why aren't you raising them to be the best human being we can be? Raise them to be. I'm going to just share this with you as a reading I do every day. But I just want to read this out. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity. And I'm going to leave that with you guys. Make your comments below. Love to hear what you have to say. Love to hear how you think. And let's have a conversation about what to do just in case.